Hey, what is up YouTube? I'm Aeroplane and I've locked in my League starter for the 3.26 expansion. So I'll be playing the Exsanguinate Reap Miner Trickster build, as you already know from the title, and I'm catering this build towards aiming to get Ubers down within the first 3 days of the league and have it on farm to make currency. This build is good for other purposes as well, but I do want to caveat that the build that I've put out here is for the purpose of being able to T17s and Ubers, but you could build it slightly differently. If you want it to be a map blaster, you can build in more move speed, build towards hit hunter, inspired learning, and I'd imagine it's going to be a great map blaster as well if you do want to do things like boss rush, Exarch auto farming, or even legion farming. For all intents and purposes, the first thing I want to talk about is going to be, so is it going to be the same as Hexblast? Is it a replacement to Hexblast? In my opinion, I think it is an absolute great replacement to Hexblast. If you're familiar with playing Hexblast, the look, the feel, the defense, the offense feels very similar to Hexblast. After playing it, I've streamed for the past 2 days, played different variations at different points of the league and trying to simulate that, and it feels a lot like the Hexblast Trickster. So if you're familiar with that, you want to get the same feel again, honestly, I would recommend this build for that. How did I arrive on the Exsanguinate Reap Miner Trickster? Was two things, right? Firstly was going to be the content. I approached it by the content that I wanted to farm. So I started off with, okay, I need a build that should be able to take down Ubers on day 3, do T17s on day 2, and of course, have a build that's able to get me my 4 stones within the first day of the league. Secondly, it needed a build with sufficient defenses to be able to tackle that content, and I was stuck between two choices. Firstly, it was this build, the Exsanguinate Reap Miner Trickster. At first, I was just stuck on Exsanguinate, and then I was like, wait, why doesn't people play Reap as well? And then that's where I started doing some research, and I came up with a new iteration of the build with some new nice technology to allow you to be able to push that damage, the envelope of the damage, and while leveraging a lot of the techniques that I've been using for the Hexblast Trickster, I encountered a lot of the same problems when trying to build this character, and a lot of the solutions I've gone through before when trying to build my T17 viable Hexblast Trickster, which there wasn't really much content out there previously on that. So that's where I adopted a lot of the technology that I've used from the previous Hexblast Trickster builds and adopted it into this build, and that's what you have today. So I have 3 POBs pretty much that I want to share. First is going to be the day 3 POB, so that's the POB that's gonna be able to take down T17s, Ubers. I'm gonna have some clips later on to show you guys, and then also the first checkpoint where you hit the day 1 T16s, some simulations, some clips to be able to show you guys, and then in the future videos I'll be having a Leaguestart guide on how you can progress your character up to the point where you transition to Exsanguinate or Reap mines. So you might be wondering, so what is Exsanguinate, what is Reap, what are the skills? So diving into the skills, Exsanguinate is a life cost skill, and so is Reap, and essentially what it does is that it shoots out a bunch of vines out. You can see that it shoots out these and it chains between monsters. As compared to Reap, it is going to be a skill that you throw out and it casts the scythe and it slices the monsters, and these skills are skills that do physical damage spells to monsters. When putting on mines, you can see that these are the mines that will be casting those skills onto the monsters, and currently for this iteration of the build, we'll be doing 100% co-convert of the physical to cold, and then we'll be scaling that damage further through the various sources of the build. And this is how it's going to play out. So what better way than to show you a map of how the Exsanguinate with chain on a 5-lane fares in the T16. So here's just me charging to the map. For Exsanguinate, you just cast it on the monsters and it will just clear the packs. Over here, you just cast Exsanguinate, and this is the T16 map, and you just clear the monsters with this. And for Reap, it's gonna look like this. And of course, chain wouldn't work. I'm gonna put in the cold pan as the alternative, and this is Reap. So you can see that both of them fare the same, and in my opinion, these skills are, once again, if you're familiar with mine skills, you're familiar with Hexblast, these are auto-targeting skills. You just throw them anywhere within the monster radius, and this will hit whatever monsters there are within that radius, and you completely don't need to aim, unlike a self-cast build. So that is one of the huge benefits for mines, and that is one of the huge reasons that an old person like myself want to play this build, that I don't need to aim and target XTD. So without further ado, I'm gonna kick on into the build and pretty much show you guys what I've come up with. So the first thing I want to talk about is going to be the nerfs. So what has come up in the patch notes, number one is going to be Polymorph nerf from 3% to 2%. That damage does get reduced, and currently I've taken that into consideration. So in the POBs, this is not ticked. The only beneficial line for Polymorph is that 3% more damage, but I've done in the config the 2% to account for that nerf. On top of that, one thing to note is that with rune grafting, that could work on existing masteries that maybe would not give you that additional more damage, but if you rune graft, that could work. So that's something I want to test in the new league. Second is going to be Escape Artist. So instead of 1 ES per 6 evasion, now it's 1 ES per 8 evasion. And on a near top end necrotic chest with 3200 evasion that you can expect, previously that Escape Artist would give you 500 ES, and now it will only give you 400 ES. And that's a very small nerf in the grand scheme of things, where you have 2000, 3000 ES on average towards the top end of that build. So losing that 100 plus ES is not too much of a biggie. The last nerf that is I would say decent for the build, decent sized nerf, is going to be the invert nerf, and that is over here for the elemental mastery. So previously the elemental mastery would give us 18% more damage. You can see that it brings the damage up from 29 million in this POB to 34 million. Sorry about that one. Yep, so to 34 million, but with the config you put in, it only goes down to 32 million. So you don't lose too much damage. You lose like maybe about 5% damage, and that's perfectly fine. You can definitely still play the build. So I've left the config unticked and the mastery ticked in the POB because I'm afraid that some people may not take it if I don't press this note. So I'm gonna leave it here, okay? So it's a little bit padded for that reason. But that aside, I think the nerfs are fully okay. It's not that big, and I would say that the damage numbers for Reap is going to be higher than that for Hexblast Mines from what I've seen previously for the similar investment for the build. And where I would like to position Hexblast is somewhere in between Exsanguinate and Reap, where Exsanguinate has better clear than Hexblast, but Hexblast has better clear than Reap. But Reap has more damage than Hexblast, and Hexblast has more damage than Exsanguinate, if you get what I mean. So that is where I would like to see Hexblast. It's more of an all-rounder. Maybe you need to press a few less buttons, because for the Vaal Reap build, I mean the Reap version of the build, I do have Vaal Reap in there, and Guardian's Blessing put in to kind of like shore up the damage a little bit more. So you do have to press a little bit more buttons, but that's the overall where the build is at. And some things I want to caveat beforehand is going to be where things could be padded a little bit. Firstly is that for Reap, how it works is that it will have blood charges gained when you do not kill an enemy. And what we're going to be using is going to be Arcanist Brand to be able to trigger a level 1 Reap, which just constantly casts Reap, and it doesn't kill anything. And over time, Reap has a mechanic that allows you to get blood charges, and each blood charge gives 15% more damage. So you constantly, as you build up the blood charges up to 5 stacks, especially on single target, you get a huge amount of more damage. So 15% per blood charge, 5 blood charges is 75% more damage. And that is why Reap is the skill of choice when it comes to doing single target damage, especially when you want to do pinnacle bosses or uber bosses. That being said, with Vaal Reap, which is a new tech that I found out on stream, and that is going to be giving you from 5 blood charges all the way to 9 blood charges, giving you a huge more multiplier to your damage for 4 seconds, I think, for 5 seconds for the secondary duration, or actually up to 8 seconds. And then giving you that huge more multiplier. Instead of 75% more damage, it's going to be 9 times 15, so it's going to be 135% more damage. So a huge bump in your damage by just pressing Vaal Reap. So, but one thing to note that this is what I've had ticked. So if you uncheck all of these boxes, the damage will be lower from what you see, but I just left it on to be able to show you what the damage could be when you have all your conditionals active. Plus it's a build. What are my charges now? The charge is 2. Oh my god, what the hell? Okay, the next one I got the special Reap, right? Oh, I forgot to press that. Yeah, okay. Oh my god, the damage! You guys see that? Oh, it's chilled like hell. Yo! This is insane! What? Okay, delete the vault right now. Delete the vault right now. Am I dead? No, I'm not dead. Delete the vault. Delete the vault. Delete the vault. No. One thing I've noticed that you'll see in the Uber Eater clip is that the number of mines that you have in there is going to be pretty high on average, and it's not going down as fast as I would like, and that's because the mine detonation might not be fast enough. So in Uber fights, you may be moving a lot, so that's going to be better. But if you're just going to stand still, you're going to ramp, sometimes you may not get the damage that you expect in the POB because it's not detonating fast enough. The other thing to note that I mentioned earlier was the invert mastery, and the two things about EHP and damage is that currently in my POB I have Frost Shield active, which gives that EHP and crit. So over here we have a Frost Shield in the POB, so that gives you a little bit more crit as well as EHP, and that's natural, as well as the flask as well. So I have those active, and generally I like to keep them active, especially in softcore when you're blasting, you're doing maps. This is the kind of evasion I would expect, and usually I'll compare like the defenses and the amount of recovery and the uptime of various damage while you're mapping. And if you don't want that, you can go ahead and uncheck that. Other things that are not taken into account is going to be rune grafting. So I don't think we have all the grafts yet available, so that could help with the build. Mercenary auras, support gear, unique mercenary affix gear, that could help you. All of that could be beneficial for the build. Personally, I will be looking for a mercenary vitality aura and daring cry. Those are the two things I'm going to be looking for. Someone to be a meat shield for me, as well as being able to give me an aura that will help with this build, which is recovery, and that's going to be vitality. And if there's enduring cry, vitality, determ, even better. But that's what I'll be looking for. Other things not calculated in the build is Skitterbolt's redetonation, Ghost Shroud defenses, which in my opinion is extremely underrated. One of the biggest reasons why I chose Exsanguinate Reap over Deadeye was because of this Ghost Shrouds. Lastly, Focus DD not taken into account at the moment. Looks good too. NGL, Exsang is just better mapper. Yeah. This is just a little bit more damage. It's just whichever I get my hands on for Dragon Fang. One thing nice is that I think the mines just detonate. Oh, my HP moved. My HP doesn't usually move since I'm freezing everything. Like with Exsang, you go off screen a little bit better with the shade and shit, but yeah, Reap you get less of that off screen, so you have a bit less defensible. For those, this machines are pretty overpowered. Yeah, this is boss room, right? Unique. Everything just dies, I guess. Right, bad trap proc. Ah! It's almost dead. He's dead. Yeah. For day 3 gear, this is pretty chill. The apple fragment again. Oh! Unstable tactical fields. But yeah, the Exsang is gonna feel like. Get me out.
Chaos.
Exsang is gonna feel like this, right? Like if I switch this and then switch chain with trap and mine. Am I dead? Like that. Like Exsang is like that. You don't even see the mobs. Like for sure you map with Exsang, and then Reap is only the additional option for single target. And that's it. Like you don't even see the mobs. Home, leave it on the floor. Mobs on the right, I guess. Yeah. And there's no mage blood, right? No mage blood. Like eventually we'll get mage blood and everything's gonna be so chill for gearing. You can spike the more damage and everything. And then higher levels will also be good. Loot filter? Yo, we ain't looting shit, dude. Just gonna leave it on the floor, dude. These are my worries right now. This is pretty comfy, guys. This is Hexblast 2.0, dude. I mean, I say 2.0, but it's actually just exactly like Hexblast, but maybe a bit less damage, I think. It's just a bit less damage, but you get the same feel for Hexblast, like you freeze everything and everything feels okay. Power Trickster, dude. Eventually we can go Spellbreaker, Forbidden Flame and Flash, so I think we're okay there. You just pad. Oh my freaking god, dude. Since in Uber Shaper the balls are permanent, they stay.
Ah, why must he open up with this shit, dude? This is my favorite spot because you can see like the most amount from the bottom left. Ah! Nice. I saw it. I saw the opening. Alright, bad trap. Okay, now spawn high. Oh my freaking god, dude. Stop. I can't move. There we go. Can bring Colin. Royal Burjoni, yo, stop taking my RNG. I mean, this looks okay, right? Like 18 mil.
So next is talking about the gear set for the day 3 POB. So currently I have, I would say, a reasonable gear set. I personally think that I'll have slightly better gear than this by day 3. But it's going to be a 3-mod wand firstly, ignore the fracture. You just need a +1 fizz, spell damage, multi, and crafted mind throw speed. You can use any combination of that. Having focus DD is okay as well. Having crit chance to spell is okay as well. But those are the modifiers that you kind of want to be looking for. So getting a 3-mod wand with crafted mind throw speed or unveiled mind throw speed even better would be great for the build. The shield, what I'll be looking for is going to be life, +1 fizz spells, and that should be enough. Other cherries on the top is going to be spell damage, spell crit, and then of course you're going to be crafting focus DD on the suffix, and that will be very good for having that conditional damage uptime for the build. Next is going to be Heat Shiver. I think this is a no-brainer. This gives 10% more damage for the build and something that is easy, cheap damage. But just do keep in mind that on the first day or two of the league, this could be a little expensive. I'm not sure where this will get up to, but I estimate this is going to be somewhere within 50 chaos to 1 to 2 divs at the very most for a Heat Shiver. Necrotic, this is going to be a no-brainer. You can use lower tier variants if you have attribute starved. If you cannot get your hands on a good necrotic, that's perfectly fine. You can use like Sadie Scups. Just keep in mind that you want to go for as high evasion and ES as possible on a necrotic on a evasion ES chest without having a life roll on it. In terms of the prefixes, the implicits, I'll be going for Hatred Effect as well as Endurance, and this Endurance alongside the Swift color will ensure that you have permanent Endurance charge uptime. So that means you have 3 Endurance charge permanently, which is really good for the build. And that's for the chest. For the gloves, it's going to be Life Resist. If you have the incursion mod for damage and chill, that's great. So what I'm going for here is going to be a 25% convert alongside a Watcher's Eye 35 to 40% convert on the jewel. And then on top of that, we have the 40% convert on the tree, giving you a full 100% co-conversion on the day 3 POB. For the boots, that's where I'll be using some interesting technology within the implicits to have avoid ailments, avoid shock, giving you over 50% chance to avoid shock. And then you pair that with the Abyss Jewel to be able to give you a 100% chance to avoid shock. Combined with Storm Shroud gives you ailment immunity for this build. For the boots, nothing special. On the explicits, it's going to be life, suppression, movement speed, crafted, and then resistances, and that's it. You can ignore the mana. You don't really need that for this build because we have life cost for our skills. In terms of the amulet, you can either go for the +3 Reap Dragonfang, or you can go for the Exsanguinate variant. Depends on what you get your hands on. Honestly, I don't know what the price is going to be. I'm going to estimate somewhere between 1 to 10 divines for each of these amulets. Whichever I get my hands on, that's what I'll be using for that day 3 POB. Ideally, of course, given that I'll be doing Ubers, I'll be looking for the Reap Dragonfang as a priority over the Exsang. If they're the same price, I'll of course get the Reap one. But definitely towards the later versions of the POB, Exsanguinate has a lot better clear than Reap, so I will still be going for the Exsanguinate for the mapping experience, making it very comfortable, and eventually Exsanguinate should be able to do bossing as cleanly as a Reap build. Once you get enough damage, it doesn't really matter. Kikazaru is a very interesting one because for this build, if you guys didn't already know, Exsanguinate and Reap cost life. And that means that every time you cast a mine, your life goes down. You reserve life and then you spend life in terms of cost. So one thing that you need to solve for this build as opposed to Hexblast builds, for example, is being able to manage your life recovery. And one of the cheapest and easiest ways to deal with that, especially early on, and even moving towards the mid to later part of the game, that's where like day 3, I still think that having Kikazaru is really, really good, given that we'll be doing T17 mappings, and there are a lot of affixes on those maps with curses. And before you get Mage Blood, it is actually hard to become curse immune, or at least have a permanent uptime on the curse immunity, especially even like killing the bosses. So because of that, Kikazaru actually has a very unique case where it does immediately solve curse immunity, where you put in the catalyst on the Kikazaru ring, giving you up to 72% reduced effect of curses, and you pair that with, I think, the Yugo Pantheon, giving you 30% reduced effect of curses, giving you curse immunity just by using this ring and the Pantheon. When it comes to the life regeneration, this is a very cheap and easy win. You can see over here that the life cost is going to be a set amount. With Exsanguinate, of course, it's going to be a lot lower, but with the Kikazaru ring, it will help shore up that life recovery very easily by just putting on this one ring. Towards the endgame POBs, I'd imagine having a fractured life regen, using a Calandra's touch, mirroring that, and then maybe adding some life regen across your other pieces of gear, like your boots, could definitely help maintain that life regeneration. And I think that's something that I would explore a little bit more towards the later POBs. In terms of the rings, nothing special. Life resist for this day 3 gear. For the belt, what I'll be looking for is going to be a 1 fractured modifier that's beneficial for the build. This could be life, this could be resist, this could be fractured strength. And then using essences of zeal to be able to give you this unique modifier, essence modifier, trap and mind throw speed, which will help increase your damage very early on, giving you a lot of DPS. In terms of the flasks, they are the flasks that I've chosen. I've mentioned some of the unique flasks in the notes section that could be beneficial. Taste of Hate, Atziri's Promise, that could give you nice damage and defense for the build that you can also opt for if you prefer. And in terms of the medium clusters, I've chosen a different approach than my Hexblast, going with Expert Sabotage, which I think could be better damage if you have enough detonation speed. So that's something that I'm going to try out. If Expert Sabotage, if you find that your mines are permanently towards like the max cap of 18, maybe you want to switch to a Surprise Sabotage, and that's what I may do. In terms of crafting, I would say Surprise Sabotage with Guerrilla Tactics is going to be a lot easier to craft, but definitely you can alt Regal or just buy them off trade if you want these jewels. For the 8-piece, you can go for just 1 notable if you don't have the money to buy 3 notables and you just lose 20% increased damage. But what I'll be going for is going to be Iron Breaker with Force Multiplier, and this is going to be the best damage notables. And then having Master of Fundamentals is going to be just put on the outside and not being used, so that's what I'll be using for my 8-piece for the Fizz clusters. And that's pretty much it for the build. In terms of Lethal Pride, this is pretty much kind of like just a jewel that gives you strength as the most important thing for you to be able to use your skills. And secondly, it's going to be the thing that gives you additional damage or life. The 2 mods that I'm going to be looking for is increase max health and focus and deal double damage modifier. So if you have 1 of each, that's probably good enough. If you have 3, if you have all double damage, a lot of max life, that's also really good for the build. So just any Lethal Pride that gives you that damage, or life will be something that I'm looking for. And that's pretty much how I've set up my build. In terms of the skills, they are going to be, the only special mention is going to be the Marionettes, and that's going to be the Race Specters. So Race Specter is something that will be casting on something from the Ritual League mechanic, and that's going to be the Imperfect Dark Marionette. So you need to buy it off trade for 1 Chaos. Hey guys, so this is the Dark Marionette that I have on me that allows us to use Guardian Blessing. You can see that when I activate the Zealotry Guardian's Blessing, you can see that Marionette actually loses 14.3% of his life per second as physical damage until he dies. After 4 seconds, this Marionette revives, and he's here again, and you can activate Guardian's Blessing, so you kind of have 50% uptime on this little guy. So how do you summon this guy? So you'll need the setup, where you have the 3 links, Race Specter with Guardian's Blessing, and Zealotry. So without the Spectre Gem, whenever you weapon swap, you desummon him, you take out your gem, you take out your gear, the guy desummons. So there are going to be instances where maybe you just change your gear set and then you go into the next map. It's like, wait, where did he go? So you kind of lost him already. Unless you come back to your hideout where he was despawned and you can find him again on the floor. That is where you'll use your Race Specter to raise him again. But for those of you who have not gotten the Dark Marionette yet, how do you get that corpse? So that's where you need to get the Imperfect Dark Marionette. It's going to be cheaper. There's like a perfect one, which does like Scorch or something, and then the normal one. But for us, we just need an Imperfect Dark Marionette, and then we can just summon it. So you buy it from trade, you get it from Ritual League Mechanic, and then you just right-click the Imperfect Dark Marionette, you'll drop the corpse on the floor, and then you use your Ray Spectre and you summon him, and there you go. You got your Spectre, a Dark Marionette that revives after every 4 seconds. After that, you can completely remove Ray Spectre from your skill bar. You don't no longer need it because he'll always follow you around. He's a good boy, and you have that for your Guardian's Blessing that you can use moving forward. So one thing to note is that I don't put my Ray Spectre into my weapon swap, because if I swap it, he desummons and I may lose him in the map. So that's just something to keep in mind, that I'm going to be putting my Guardian's Blessing Ray Spectre setup within all of the pieces that is outside of my weapons that I would typically weapon swap. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about is going to be the first checkpoint, which is the day 1. The moment when you hit tier 16, what is the kind of gear that you want to have? What is the kind of gear that you want to be able to take down pinnacle bosses? And I've come up with that POB for myself and for you guys to see what is going to be needed. And I've tested it, and you'll see some clips in just a bit of how this looks and feels. So this is going to be the exact gear set that I was using. +1 fist on wand, +1 fist on shield. That's it. Really bad pieces of gear. Heat Shiver, this could be a little expensive early on, but this just gives you 10% more damage. On top of that, it's just evasion, a little bit of resist, and that's it on the chest. And I've done some tests on 5 links and then 6 links, which I'll be showing you some showcases over there. And then a Hrim Sorrow, which is our initial approach on how we are dealing with an easy way to convert 100% of your physical damage to cold. That's using the Hrim Sorrow gloves. Next is going to be Booch, life resist, move speed, nothing special here. Amulet is going to be +1 fist, life, crafted resist, nothing special here. Kikazaro, this is going to be 1 to 5C on Leaguestart, and this will give you that life regeneration to manage your life cost. Ring, nothing special here, life and resist. Belt, nothing special here, life and resist. It is a little bit high because I'm just using whatever I had in my stash just to be able to use it for this build. I didn't even put in an Abyss Jewel in here to do some baseline simulations. I was just using it to rest cap. In terms of the jewels, the way you want to get to is by the time you hit the first pinnacle, you want at least 1 medium cluster with Guerrilla Tactics and Expert or Surprise Sabotage. And this is going to be the medium cluster that you'll be putting in here. I remember in one of the private leagues, last league, remember the first Trap and Mine clusters that came out were a bit expensive, so keep in mind that maybe it could be a little expensive, somewhere between 50 Chaos to 1 Divine range. Could be the first few clusters, but just do keep in mind this fall drastically over time. It goes like 30C, 20C as the next jewels come up on trade. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. So with this gear set, here are some of the showcases of what we're able to do with it. I assume you can do it, but it's going to be okay at best. But I'm not planning to do Legion. I don't think this build shines at Legion. You're probably better off playing some other build. Even Arc Totems could be better, maybe. I should take that map. I'm running out of maps. I don't even have regular maps anymore.
Chaos.
Am I on chain? Yeah, I'm on chain. Okay, nice. So this is a T16 Elder, or T15 Elder actually. Don't know why it's got T15, but Exsang and HH POBs. Oh yeah, I think Rexia loved that. I saw some of the builds on. Maybe it's not Rexia, but someone else. Like just mapping is pretty crazy. I think. Okay, I never played it before, so maybe it could be really good. I guess if you get enough chain, like you can definitely do Legions, I think. But I'm going for bossing. I'm going for Ubers, Uber killing. So I'll be going for a single target more than anything else. T15 Elder map testing. Where's the Elder? Is he here? Oh, he's here. Okay. Ubers, yeah, we do Ubers. I disagree. When on decent Exsang, chaining range, it does great at Legion. Yeah, I think with investment and if you really go for the plus chains. And the HH, I agree. So here we swap Copan for chain. Okay, nice. Yeah, but definitely you can do Reap, I think. With the new chain gloves, it could be really insane. I'm ignited? Am I? Where's my guy? He's alive now. Okay, he's phasing. It's pretty nice. It's like 5 seconds, I think, to phase him. With pre-stack, of course. DP's up. Okay, nice. DPS time. Ouch. The ignite's crazy. Okay, his phase is just RPing. That's pretty nice, guys. This is Exsang 5 link, guys, on Elder Guardian.
I can't see what he's doing. Okay, okay. I mean, this is pretty dank, guys. This is pretty dank.
Hey guys, I'm gonna showcase one of the pinnacle bosses to expect when you hit T16. Currently, I'm using my day 1 T16 POB, currently running a 6-link with Reap. And you can see that we have a really bad gear in general, currently just random +1s on this. And realistically, I would have better gear than this by the time I hit pinnacles, but here is the showcase. So this is gonna be a regular Uber Elder, and hopefully I don't die here. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on with Vaal the fight. I would say maybe a little bit more than Maven even. Like things that you have to eat if you just want to have that DPS uptime, I would say. Popping the Vaal Reap, doing big damage. And you can see that the damage is pretty insane, and that should be the first phase. He's just stuck in that animation. And this is a level 84 simulation, so we're probably going to be higher level by the time we reach like pinnacle bosses and stuff. I think it was aiming my Spectre for some reason. Oh, I think Shaper's not faced yet. And he's faced, gonna hit the Vaal Reap and unload on the Elder. I think he's phased. Yeah, he's phased. Shaper at phase now. And I think that's Shaper phased. Okay, we got Vaal Reap as well. One step ahead OP. Unaffected by the still from Elder. And I think he's phased. Yeah, he's phased. Just waiting for that ad phase to go off. And yeah, I can see that overall it's pretty smooth. The moment you hit Vaal Reap, you get that 135% more damage multiplier just in that beam. And that fish should almost be over. Oh my god, it just got blasted last second. Oh my god, I was ready to unload on Shaper. But yeah, you can see that overall the damage is pretty good. And there's hardly no problems. You probably can do it deathless. I think my flasks are down and everything anyways at the point. Yeah, you should have. So I'm gonna hit the Vaal Reap here, unload everything onto Shaper. And that Shaper down. And this is Shaper down. He's doing some animations, but he's kind of dead. And that's the pinnacle boss fight on a regular 6-link. The Reap is of a high level gem, but I'm like not using Abyssal Jewels. We're just using a Shrimp Sorrow, Kikazaru, and really bad Amulet Shield and Weapon. It's just pretty much like one mod with crafted Mind Throw speed on this one. This is just a +1 with resistance and life. I dropped an Indigon, oh my god. And yeah, that's just a showcase. Thanks guys. So lastly, I want to share this POB with you guys. So this is going to be Act Progression POB. I will not be going into too much detail, but in the coming stream, I may be posting a follow-up YouTube video showing an Act 1 to Act 10, as well as how we transition as we go into maps using the Shrimp Sorrow, Kikazaru coming up. So here we have the A1 to A10 POB, so how you can progress your skills, the kind of the tree, what skills you're going to be using, and what skills to be getting at which levels, and detailed notes about when to do what within the build. I try to make it as handholdy as possible. possible, but I will not be going into too much detail about all of this and the kind of gear set that to expect and to have when you want to go into maps in Act 10, especially in softcore trade. You should be able to get a lot of these, and how you progress towards level 80, level 92, and the things that you want to get. So in the coming streams, I'll be doing that progression, and just tune in. So I'll be streaming the next few days, as well as pretty much the first week of the Leaguestart. And just pop by twitch.tv/aeroplane. I'll be streaming live. So thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Catch me on stream if you're there. Ask me any questions you have in the YouTube video or on stream live with me, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.